Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Scott here with Grateful Living Cruises, where I come to you with all things cruises and living life gratefully each and every day. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of Royal Caribbean's most beloved classic ships, Freedom of the Seas. I have been showing you guys my day by day, category by category, deck by deck vlog of my time on Freedom of the Seas. And today we're wrapping up the series with an overall review and info session, if you will, of my time, my experiences, and my overall thoughts about the ship. Is she still worth selling? Even with all the new mega ships that are out there, and even the Star of the Seas that just now started sailing. So in this video, I'll walk you through all the biggest pros, in my opinion, the most important cons I think you should think about. And hopefully I'll help you decide if this ship is the right pick for your next getaway. So grab your Dr. Pepper Zero, or your coffee, or your cruise planner, and let's get going. All right, you guys, so before we get too far into this review, I want to share with you guys just a little bit of background information and a fun piece of cruise history for you all. Freedom of the Seas first set sail in 2006. And at the time, you know, we always say this, at the time she was built, she was the largest ship. I think this is so funny because I want to go back in 10 years and say, wow, at the time Star of the Seas was built, she was the largest ship. Can you imagine? Anyway, tangent. Okay, at the time Freedom of the Seas was built in 2006, she actually was the largest cruise ship in the world. So what's going to happen in 10 years? Like, man, that's going to be crazy because Star of the Seas is humongous. So Freedom of the Seas, 2006, when she debuted, titled as the largest cruise ship in the world, and that lasted for 3 years until the Oasis class ship came along. However, the Freedom class still packs a huge punch in terms of the size and layout. It's actually, spoiler alert, one of my favorite size and classes of ships that are available. She was built in Finland, and she is the first of the Freedom class ships. So if you've heard of Liberty of the Seas or Independence of the Seas, those are also in the same class of ships, and so would be considered her sister ships. So ships that are in the same class, Freedom class or Icon or Oasis class ships, they're all called sister ships. So if you hear someone say that, that's why. Now, what's really nice about Freedom of the Seas is that in 2020, she received a major upgrade. Royal Caribbean considers their upgrades amplifications. I think it's called Royal Amplified. I call them amplifications. But so Freedom of the Seas got new water slides, updated pools, lots of color on the pool deck, which I really think is fun. Some new bars, dining venues, just general updates throughout. So whereas she, was built in, about a 20-year-old ship, she did have a lot of updates, 5 years ago as of this filming. So she's definitely not outdated in a lot of ways, even though she is a little bit older than a lot of the ships that are coming out nowadays. Now, there are some caveats to that, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But let's get right into the good stuff, and let's talk about what Freedom of the Seas does really well. Let's talk about the pros of Freedom of the Seas. So pro number one, there are an incredible variety of activities available on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. If you love having things to do, then Freedom absolutely delivers in this category. You have the Flow Rider Surf Simulator. You have a rock climbing wall. You have a full basketball court. You've got mini golf. You have that actual the ice skating rink. Studio B is what it's called. You have the water park with the two dual water slides. Honestly, for a ship that is 20 years old, it's not one of the newest in the fleets. It's kind of crazy how many activities are packed onto this ship. So the variety, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but those are the things that are at the top of my mind. There are an incredible number of activities available on Freedom of the Seas to keep you and or your kiddos, or just you and your lovely little jam-packed brain fully engaged and having a great time. I will tell you, one of my favorite things, even though I'm not participating in the activity, I love just sitting on the back of the ship and watching the people who are doing the surf simulator, the flow rider. I think it's so fun. It's kind of relaxing in a weird way. I really enjoy it, and it's oddly satisfying. So yes, pro number one, there are an incredible variety of activities available on Freedom of the Seas. Now, let's talk about pro number two. It is refreshed and modernized. The 2020 amplification really did help bring it up to speed. Royal Caribbean could have just let the ship age, but they didn't. I wish some other companies would take the hint on some of their ships. So they added those slides that we talked about. The lime and coconut bar was, it really gave that whole top deck area like a whole resort vibe. Remember I said a lot of color? When you look at that top deck area now, it really looks like a resort. It's so colorful, it's so vibrant, it's so vibey. It's really nice. And adding Giovanni's Italian and El Loco Fresh as dining options, Izumi for sushi and teppanyaki, it all feels fresh and new and vibrant and different. The options are all very different and unique. So it definitely makes you feel like you're stepping into a modern ship, not an outdated ship. So pro number two, definitely you're feeling like you're in an experience that is refreshed and modern. Definitely it doesn't feel like it's age at all. And by the way, that's really important, because I have been on ships that are less old that feel much older. So just because the ship is a certain age means nothing. It's all about how well maintained the ship is, if it's been updated and modernized, if it's, you know what I mean? It matters. And I have some reviews of another ship that I just literally got off of this past weekend coming up, that if you stay tuned to those will help explain why I'm feeling kind of salty right now. Royal Caribbean did a great job though on this one. Okay, pro number three, it's spacious but feels manageable. And to me, this is important because I'm not particularly a huge fan of these mega ships. I don't like feeling like I am around 6,000 or 7,000 people. And I know a lot of people say that, depending on when they were on those mega new ships, that even though there are that many people on the ship, it didn't feel that way. But what I've experienced, at least on Freedom of the Seas, is that it's kind of the right size for me. And what I mean by that is it's a big ship and it has a lot of people, but I feel like the space to passenger ratio is great. And one thing a lot of other reviewers mentioned and a lot of other passengers say, and I really agree with them, is that it feels big but not overwhelming. And I really do agree with that. It gives you a great balance of having a ton of amenities and things to do and activities to adventure with, but still feeling familiar and easy to navigate. It doesn't take you 3 days just to find yourself
also convert this
around the ship
into laser tag.
It's wonderful. It's a great balance and blend of all of those things. So pro number 3, it's spacious, but still feels manageable. Okay, pro number 4, going back to what I talked about just a few minutes ago, Freedom of the Seas and Royal Caribbean in general has done a fantastic job of maintenance and cleanliness. So the ship is 19, almost 20 years old, but you would never know it, in my opinion, by walking around it. Even in the areas that have not been amplified, so, like the staterooms, for example, a lot of those have not been, fully amplified, but they're clean. They've been well maintained. They do a great job with upkeep, cleanliness. Things are polished. High traffic areas still feel like it has that new ship shine. You constantly are seeing the staff members out, maintaining and keeping the ship taken care of. So to me, that speaks volumes about a company, about a ship, about an experience. And it's something that I value enough to put on this list. Hopefully you guys value that too. I don't know. I'm kind of crazy about that. I say that after I just literally scrub the floors in my house all morning long. Are you guys like that? Do you come back from a trip and you feel like you have to scrub your house? I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Anyway, I just come back from a 5 or 6 night. I was away for 6 nights and I come home and literally have been cleaning since I've been back. So I got the house clean now. Now I felt like I could do some more reviews. Anyway, pro number 4, good maintenance and cleanliness. Let's jump right into pro number 5 is comfortable stateroom design. So going right in along the same, kind of thing with good maintenance and cleanliness, the rooms are spacious. The balcony doors, I had a balcony stateroom on my cruise with Freedom of the Seas, and my balcony stateroom, now, granted, I did have a spacious balcony stateroom that I won with Royal Caribbean's Royal upgrade bid process, and it was huge. Like, the couch in that stateroom, I think, was as big as the couch in my house. I was surprised by that. You can see that in my room tour video, but the balcony doors slid very easily. The showers had the solid doors without the crappy shower curtains that I had on the cruise I just got off of. I had plenty of storage. I was really satisfied with my room, even though my room wasn't like a brand new room. It didn't have all the new USBs and all that stuff. I thought it was a very comfortable design. It was clean. It was well maintained. Those are the things that make a difference for me. And I think a lot of people who think the same way as I do feel the same way. And pardon me, I'm going to take a drink real quick. So, pro number 5, comfortable stateroom design, goes kind of hand in hand with that good maintenance and cleanliness kind of situation, especially for a ship that's, going on 20 years old. Okay, so you guys, if you're enjoying this so far, I just want to ask you to please hit that like button. It really helps me out so much. I'm a growing channel, and you guys know I'm trying to do at least 2 full-length videos a week and lots of video or shorts for YouTube each week as I'm growing my channel and trying to continue to bring you guys great content. So hitting that like button really helps the algorithm to find more cruisers who like my casual, honest style. and stick around because these cons that are coming up next may or may not be surprising to you. We'll see what you think, but let's get right into them. Okay, con number 1. Now, I'm not even sure I 100% agree with this, but I wanted to mention it because I've heard several people say this. So, con number 1 for Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas is the Royal Promenade can feel very commercial. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword because I love the promenade area on Royal Caribbean ships. Love it. It's probably one of my favorite things about Royal Caribbean ships. So how can that be a con if it's one of my favorite things about Royal Caribbean ships? It is beautiful. There's no doubt about it. It's open. It's airy. It just makes it feel larger than life. But it's also filled with shops and special sales, tables. And if you don't want to feel like you're walking through a retail store or mall to get from one part of the ship to another, then it can feel like you're at a mall at sea. Now, I don't necessarily always mind that, but if you're walking through during a busy part of the day and it's one of the later days of the sailing where they're like trying to get rid of everything, you know how they do, then they have the table set up and you're trying to walk around and everybody's out there and they're having their gold sale. It can get kind of like gimmicky in a way, especially after you've done, several sailings and it's the same thing every time. It's like, okay, but it's still pretty. I'm not going to knock them too bad. They're there to make money. Every inch of that cruise ship is there to make money. And I understand that. But I have to be 100% honest and say that as beautiful as the Royal Promenade is, it can sometimes feel a little too commercial. Like, let's keep it fun and vibrant and keep the shops in the shops. Like, let's keep the shops out of the promenade area. So I don't know. That could be a con. I've heard a lot of people mention it. And, I always join those little Facebook groups, like when you're going. Okay, let me back up. So every cruise typically has a Facebook group that someone creates for that specific sailing. And I always join those groups and I always look and see what questions people are asking and what comments people are having, and I use those questions and comments and things in my videos. That's kind of my homework, if you will, my research, how I come up with things to say and or questions to answer in my videos. And so this was one that came up in the group that I was in, one of the groups I was on recently. So I thought I would share it with you guys. Okay, con number 2, even though there was an amplification on Freedom of the Seas, there are some areas of the ship that still show its age. So even with the amplification, there are areas that show its original 2006 design. Especially when we're talking about cabins and common area decor. It's not bad, but if you're expecting ultra modern new everywhere, then you're going to notice the difference. You're not going to have all the brand new flashy USBs and LEDs in your staterooms. You're not going to have all the ultra modern pearl in the promenade that they have on the Icon, the new ships. So you will notice, that it's not got all the brand new ultra modern things, but it's still a nice ship. I mean, come on, you guys know it's almost a 20-year-old ship. It's not brand new. They did a fantastic job with the amplification, but you just have to be aware that there are some areas that did not receive the amplification, and those areas you will notice are not brand new. Okay, con number 3, this one, I did experience a little bit on my Freedom of the Seas trip I recently took. Entertainment quality can be hit or miss. Now, don't come for me because I know Royal Caribbean typically has some of the best entertainment at sea, and I 100% agree with that. I have seen some comedy sessions on Royal Caribbean ships that have fallen a little flat. But typically the theater shows, in my opinion, have been amazing. So here's kind of been my opinion. And again, these are my opinions only. You need to book your cruise and then come back and tell me if you agree with me or not. But my opinion has been that Carnival does a fantastic job on comedy, although some of their comedy is not necessarily up to my taste. But they do comedy well, whereas Royal Caribbean, in my opinion, does Broadway style theater very well. So depending on what type of entertainment you're looking for, Royal Caribbean, and especially Freedom of the Seas, may be hit or miss. Now, I will tell you, any entertainment on a cruise ship that is being offered to you is going to be amazing. But when you've done multiple cruises, you do start to kind of see, the pluses and minuses. And that's the information that I'm kind of bringing to you guys. So just be aware. If you're someone who really loves Broadway level productions or the most amazing comedians in the world, just know and have your expectations set that not every show is going to knock it out of the park every single time. And just be aware that that's something to think about. Entertainment quality can be hit or miss. Most of these are always live entertainment, and live entertainment can be hit or miss. So take that for what you will. Let's talk about con number 4. Con number 4, according to U.S. News Travel, has ranked Freedom of the Seas kind of middle of the pack. Let's see, I think in my notes, it ranked 17 out of 27 of Royal Caribbean ships. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. I thought Freedom of the Seas was pretty amazing. In fact, in my opinion, if you could take the Freedom of the Seas ship and make it a longer cruise so that it's not just a weekender cruise out of Miami, so that it's not so much a party weekend cruise, amazing. It would be amazing for me. But I'm not like a weekender party type person. But the cruise ship and the size and the class of ship, I thought is about the perfect size and type of ship for me and for my needs and desires. So, but, U.S. News and Travel did rank it 17 out of 27. So it's about middle of the road. So I think it just means that there are some ships that are ranked slightly higher across the board. It's not a terrible ranking. It's just kind of middle of the road according to them. So that's definitely something to think about. So now let's talk about who the ship is best for. Who is Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas best suited for? Who is it perfect for? What I would say is travelers who want a ton of activity choices without the crowds of the newest mega ships. This one would be for you. Families or couples who appreciate a refurbished, well-maintained, classic-style ship, this one is definitely for you. People who love a good mix of adrenaline and relaxation. You can hit the Flow Rider Surf Simulator in the morning and the Solarium Adult-Only Spa in the afternoon. This one is for you. Now, who might want to consider doing some other research or maybe think about some other ships? If you are absolutely needing the absolute newest, brightest, most advanced technology and design, you might want to look at the Icon or Star of the Seas, the newer, brand new, most technologically advanced. Those might be the ships for you, not Freedom of the Seas. If you want to be guaranteed an actual Broadway show every single night of your cruise, this ship may not be for you. You may get a Broadway style show, but you may not get a Broadway show every single night. If that's what you're expecting, you might want to look somewhere else. And if you're a cruiser who wants just a more laid back, less hectic vibe, then as long as the itinerary is a 3 or 4 night weekend sailing out of Miami, you may not want to do this cruise. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying it's like, party to the walls, down boots house. But what I'm saying is you may want to really look at the dates, and you may want to make sure that if you're not into that type of cruise, you may want to try to avoid that weekend 3 or 4 night sailing, because that is when I went, and it definitely did have more of that weekend party vibe than other sailings would have had if it were the same exact ship, I will say. So the Freedom of the Seas may not be the newest ship on the ocean, but however, with its fresh upgrade, strong variety of activities to do on board, and what I feel is a very balanced feel and balanced experience, it really stands out to me as one of Royal Caribbean's most dependable and enjoyable classic style ships. I absolutely really love this ship. So if you're considering on sailing on her, drop me a comment below. I'm happy to answer any questions I may have regarding my recent experience on her. I hope I can help you decide between stateroom categories, itineraries, or just any general questions you may have about the Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas. Please, if you've gotten any information that is helpful or enjoyable at all about this ship, I hope that you will like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss out on any of my honest cruise reviews and ship breakdowns. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, keep living gratefully.